Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We're happy to have our next guest joining us. He's going to talk to us a little bit about his business and why it's important for you. If you own a business, he'll tell you more about that. Please welcome Dean Pappas. Thanks for joining us, Dean.
How are you? Good afternoon.
I am well. First of all, go Cougs. And
Go
we're
Cougs.
just so proud of our University of Houston and all the work that you and your family do for the university. And of course, as a business owner, happy to have you on the interview today. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your law firm?
Well, thank you. I'm a native Houstonian, been practicing a little over 36 years, represent businesses, insurance companies. We do what's called insurance defense. I've got a small firm of 7 lawyers, and we kind of advise businesses on risk. Certainly don't offer insurance, but recommend insurance to them in terms of protecting themselves from either workers' compensation claims, liability claims, employment claims, things of that nature.
So you've done this a very long time. I imagine you've got some good tips for businesses that they should do in addition to having their insurance coverage. But are there any other things, let's say, that they can do as a preventive measure? And then the second part of the question is, what do you do if something occurs? So let's start with preventive.
Well, preventive, I've never had a client tell me they've had too much insurance, but certainly I've had some that have said, I wish I'd have had this risk insurance, that risk insurance. So certainly businesses that have questions can certainly call their broker. If they don't, I'd recommend them get a broker, the one that specializes in businesses that can protect them from a certain type of risk. For instance, a board of directors insurance, theft insurance, terrorism insurance, things of this nature. So that's what, and the insurance companies will hire me, as well as businesses. So certainly I would make sure they sit down and determine their risk. And if they're big enough to hire a risk manager or human resources director, and make sure that they educate themselves as well as possible, and even bring in consultants if necessary to make sure they're covered.
Okay. Dean, talk to us about things that businesses should do once something has occurred.
Well, one of the main things is to make sure their investigation, for instance, if there's an on-the-job injury that they may have that they have to defend, or that there's somebody, let's say a slip and fall. I've pulled into to have a conversation. I'll pull into a restaurant parking lot, and if they have something that occurs, to make sure that they investigate immediately. I handled a big supermarket chain for years, and one of the first things we always said is the first 24 to 48 hours of an accident is the most important to investigate, to write things down, to take photos, to take statements, to make sure that witnesses have been interviewed, to make sure that cameras, for instance, do a lot of school district and premises work for public entities, to make sure if they can invest in their companies, to have cameras all over their place, to make sure that it kind of not so much security, it is good in security, but also to make sure that if there's any accident, either an employee or a patron, that they have an opportunity to see did in fact occur, because there's a lot of secondary gain out there, and we want to make sure that people that are hurt, that are treated fairly, but at the same time, if they're trying to game the system, we want to make sure that businesses have the appropriate measures to defend them.
Very well. And before we wrap up, Dean, anything to close that you'd like to share with businesses and others that are watching?
They can feel free to call me. You have my information. They can feel free to call me. I can advise them free of charge in terms of their insurance and risk and things of that nature. And certainly would recommend that they hire a broker to make sure that they're covered. Because again, there's not too much insurance, but there's a lot of cases where they either have been denied coverage, or they're excluded coverage, or they don't have coverage, or even not enough coverage. So
Well,
certainly, they can call me anytime, and I'll be glad to answer those questions.
we appreciate you, Dean. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Thank you.